Hi everyone, welcome to the class. So let's jump into today's agenda, right? Uh, so before I just want to know, like, how many of you attended the previous class? How many of you actually were there in the previous class or previous one or two or three classes? Shashwati was there. Yes, I remember. Deep was there. How many classes? Just mention one, two, three. How many classes you attended? Okay, okay, great. So, how many of you who were there? Most of you were there in the previous class. So, have you written anything since you're there in the previous class? I just want to know if you have tried out what we discussed. Okay, so only a few people have actually tried writing something. So, I want to tell you something that until you actually write, okay, Sriraj, request you to go on mute, please. So until you actually write, you are not going to learn very well. Like, unless you just attend the class and don't go and try it out yourself, it's not going to be that great, right? So please make sure that you after you attend the class, go and write something in the next one day or couple of days at least. Don't delay too much, otherwise all the talks will remain talks, and you'll end up not learning much. Okay, so today we are going to talk about how to write good introductions, right? Good introductions and what mistakes people frequently make. So let me share my screen and I'll show you something. Okay, so the rule of how to write an introduction. Okay, now so the number one rule, actually, it is not that there is not much rules about what to write, but first advice I will give you is about what not to write. Like, there are things you must not write in a legal article. Okay, what not to write. So I was just looking at an article somebody had written in the IP's office, and so I took a look at it, and the first feedback was that, and why are you like, so the topic was like, what is the current like, if somebody files a 498A complaint, which is 498A IPC, which is basically domestic violence or cruelty. So if there is domestic violence or cruelty, is that automatically lead to arrest of the accused? Okay, this was the question. And basically the person started by explaining what is the definition of domestic violence, definition of cruelty, and like one page of content was about that. And I have a more extreme example that I have seen another intern once write an article. So the topic was regulation of hydroelectricity plants in India. What regulations apply to a hydroelectricity plant? And his article was like total 1500 words. And out of that, 1000 words was like this. First, it started with what is electricity, definition of electricity, what different types of electricities are there. So hydroelectricity, thermal electricity, nuclear electricity. And then he has written what is hydroelectricity. And so first 1000 words was like all this blah 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 introduction, and then 500 words about regulations. So this is like nonsense. You cannot do this. You cannot write irrelevant introduction because you don't want to think what to write in the real article. So whatever is the topic, if it you can't assume, like, I know in college that these kind of things are tolerated when people write articles. uh, if you write this in an university, probably people write their PhD thesis also like this, but this is not all right in a professional setting. Okay, so if you are going to, let's say a client comes to you and says that, okay, please tell me, I am going to set up a hydroelectricity plant, I am ready to pay you 5 lakh rupees, give me advice as to what are the regulations we need to follow, give me a comprehensive list. You come to the point straight. You're not going to write this long lectures about what is hydroelectricity, how much hydroelectricity is there in India, why is hydroelectricity better than thermal electricity, all these nonsenses. not expected, not required. And especially if you're writing an article, even more so, right? Nobody expects you to write all these things. It makes your article an inferior article. So you must not blubber, like ramble on in your introduction. Your introduction has to be very good. So how do you write a good introduction? But before we go to that, let's just wrap this up. What not to write: do not ramble, do not write tons of definitions, do not write irrelevant introduction, right? So then what do you do? Okay, what do you write in introduction? Like, I told you what not to write. So what do you write in introduction? So can somebody tell me what to write in introduction? Can anybody tell me? What do you write in the introduction? Please suggest. I am waiting for your responses. So very good. So I'm getting good responses. So Shashwati Soumya is saying why the topic might be relevance, right? So very good. So Shashwati, very good. Why is this topic important or relevant, right? Or you can even write to whom this is relevant. Who should, right? Who are you writing for? Correct. So let's say if you write an article on regulation of hydroelectricity, are you writing it for electricity lawyers, or are you writing for managers and executives in a hydroelectricity plant? Are you writing it for, I don't know, for like journalists? It could be anything, right? So you have a target audience, and it is better if you tell in your introduction who your target audience is and what you want to achieve through this article, right? What do you want to achieve through this article? Okay, so very important. You can do this. Or you can even say, what is the scope of the article, right? So in debating, you'll see that a lot of people train this way, that they will. So when they're talking in a debating, they start their speech. They first tell that I'm going to talk about first this, then this, and then this, and then that, and then at the end they wrap up. So I talked about this, and I talked about that, and I talked about that. Therefore, I proved that this, whatever, right? So basically we talked so much about structure, not in the previous class, but in the class before that, we talked so much about structure. So good debaters, you'll see that, so that you can follow their arguments well. What they'll do is that they'll tell you what they're going to argue. They will tell the structure in the introduction. I am not saying you should do that in writing, because anyway people can see the structure at a glance. But you should talk about why are you writing this article? What is your purpose? What are you trying to achieve? What is the scope you are going to cover? That you should probably write in your introduction. That is a good introduction to write. Okay. But be careful not to blabber. Okay. So Jyoti is saying simple meaning of the subject. So this is the dangerous area. Okay. So what is, like, if you say that, let's say, what are the regulations governing a hydroelectricity plant? Now, what meaning will you write? What is the meaning of regulation? Certainly not. What is the meaning of hydroelectricity? Certainly not. What is the meaning of regulation of hydroelectricity? What is it? If people are coming to read this article, they know what is what, right? So there is no point writing any simple meaning. So avoid this unless you are writing on something that you think your audience would not know the meaning of, right? Maybe you're writing on such a thing that you think maybe you're writing on cryptocurrency for bank managers. That okay, yeah, I want to introduce bank managers to the concept of cryptocurrency. Then certainly you may write the meaning of cryptocurrency, because you don't expect the bank manager to understand what are you talking about. Therefore, you might introduce the concept. But otherwise, I don't see the requirement for writing the meaning. Okay. Okay. So then Ekta has said that you can write the history. So I would say if you want to write history, sometimes it's a good idea. But see, if you are writing an article on regulation of hydroelectricity, you must not. And by the way, a lot of people do this. They will write the history of hydroelectricity in India or history of electricity. Don't do that. Okay. But you or don't even write the maybe you can, like, say you are thinking that you want to write the history of regulation, how the regulation has evolved, when the first regulation came into picture, how long it lasted, how did it evolve. But even that is not your introduction. Okay, you're not going to write the history of regulations or history of the law. Imagine I give you a topic that recent amendments to Companies Act 2013. Are you going to start by telling me the history of Companies Act? Please don't do that, right? That will be again irrelevant rambling. If your topic is five most like recent important amendments, write about recent important amendments only. Don't write about anything else. Okay. So this is very important. So just like you don't waste a lot of time on definitions and meaning, similarly, don't your introduction should not be about irrelevant history. Something relevant I can understand, but otherwise you should restrict yourself to things like this. What is, why is the topic important, to whom this is relevant, who are you writing for, what do you want to achieve through this article, what is the scope of the article. Okay, these things you must clarify, and this is the best thing. Okay. Then Dino is saying, Dino, how do you pronounce Dino or Dino? I'm not sure. Probably a statement that argues for or against our topic. Okay. So this is another way of opening an article. Okay. So what you can do is that, so you can do these things. One is that you're trying to say what you are going to do in your article. But another thing you can do is catch the attention. Okay. You can try to catch the attention of the person. And there are different ways of doing this. And what are those ways? Let's explore what are the different ways of catching the attention of the person, right? Just a moment. Give me a moment, please. Okay. So what are those ways? One is that start with a hypothesis in form of a statement. Okay. So let's say my first sentence is that India does not have enough regulation for hydroelectricity plants, but it should be having. Okay. Now, this is the hypothesis given as a statement that India has insufficient regulation for hydroelectricity plants. Now, when you say this, then suddenly the reader, he starts thinking, ऐसे कैसे बोल दिया? Why is he saying that there is no regulation? What are the regulation? It opens many questions. It opens a can of worms. You're saying that India doesn't have enough regulation for hydroelectricity plants. Although India is spending 5,000 crores a year on setting up new hydroelectricity plants, but it does not have enough regulation. So that creates so basically you are creating a some sort of like a struggle, like some sort of a drama, that your introduction is dramatic. So it's called a dramatic introduction. Right. So in a dramatic introduction, you are pointing out some sort of anomaly or problem. Okay. Or a danger or whatever, like, it could be anything. That I can say that, this one change in the law could bring about a recession in India. And you will be like, wow, such a powerful line, right? If your article is starting with this one single amendment can bring a recession in India, and you'll be like, wow, India is going to go into recession. What is happening? Why? What is this law? I want to know more. So it creates curiosity, right? Catch the attention. How do you do that? By a dramatic introduction or a statement which moves people, right? So this is a great way of catching the attention and starting your introduction. Another great introduction is a story. Okay, so this is also a version of that you start by telling a story. So you start by telling, uh, this is the year 2015. I had gone to Kurg, and in Kurg I came across this dam, and I went. People took me there because it's a beautiful spot. And after going there, I happened to meet this person who was the whatever XYZ manager. And when he found out that I'm a lawyer, he asked me blah 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 questions, or I discovered this kind of problem. Now, what is happening is that you're telling a story, and I'm getting absorbed in the story because the story is interesting. So I start listening to it, and then suddenly I realize that I'm in a legal article. So it makes the whole process of reading a otherwise boring legal article more bearable. It creates curiosity. It demonstrates an argument. So stories are very powerful. Storytelling is a really really powerful tool, and you can certainly use stories in your introduction. Great idea. Okay, but the story has to be relevant. It cannot be some irrelevant story, right? The story has to connect with the whole point that you're making in your article. Okay, then Ravi Karan is saying why starting hydro project is beneficial right now. Okay, so but that is not the topic. You can write a couple of lines, but that would probably not make it so amazing. But yeah, why hydro projects are so important to India, so you're writing on that. So yeah, I mean, you are right that to that extent, that why hydropower projects are so important in India, and therefore the good regulation is so critical. So if you're making that point in the introduction, absolutely, then Ravi Karan, this is perfectly fine. But just make sure to make that connection with the regulation, because you're talking about regulation, not just about hydropower projects. Can you please something in the group chat so that the screen appears? Oh, I have to do it in the chat. Okay. Okay, now maybe the group it has appeared. I'm not sure. A brief primer in introduction. Brief primer. See, you are going to talk about things. Primer is what? Primer is not necessary. You cannot summarize your arguments and write it in the introduction. I mean, that's not such a great idea. Sometimes people do it, but it's a very academic and boring form of writing. I don't recommend it. Saloni Mathur is saying briefly discuss the content of your article further. So, like I said, that even talk about what you're going to talk about. That's not a problem. But don't write a summary of your whole article. That is not a good idea. Okay, then what Ravindran Raghunathan is saying, what the article addresses and what it does not. Yeah, perfect. Very good, Ravindran. That's what I didn't see it in time, but you are bang on. Snigdha Chitransh is saying, can write about the actual fact related to topic. You can give some stats, right? So some if you can provide some great statistics, interesting statistics. So don't provide just boring statistics just for the sake of it, but interesting statistics which uh, you know establish credibility, makes me interested in the subject, is a great idea. Okay. uh, right, so then Rajesh Yadav is saying that importance of the topic. Yeah, perfect. No, what is the purpose? What is the purpose of this article? Right, perfect. That's great. Rajesh, you're right. Deep is saying importance of the topic. Perfect. You already said it before me. What does your article attempt to portray? Saloni Mathur. Great. Perfect. What we can start? We can start with a quote. Yeah, sure. You can with an interesting quote that catches people's attention. Great idea. Okay. Or demonstrate a certain point that you are trying to make. Ravindran Raghunathan, what are you saying? What the article addresses and what it does not address. Is defining the scope, right? That is what we tried to say. So that is also great. Defining the scope. I'll write here specifically defining the scope of the article. Great. So what it includes or it doesn't include. Very good. Write why what you write needs to be discussed. Mihir Deshmukh is saying, right? Why what you write needs to be discussed. Very good. This is the relevance and importance, right? That part. Very good, Mihir. Rajesh Yadav. What will be the impact of hydroelectricity? Okay, no, this is not what we are trying to do. Impact of regulation of hydroelectricity. Don't go into hydro. Our topic is stay on topic. Okay, this is what people make a mistake that they start talking about other things. So if I say that okay, regulation of hatcheries in India, will you start talking about hatcheries and hens and all these things and chicken and everything? That doesn't make sense, right? So you have to you don't go into talking about hatcheries and eggs and chicken. You talk about hatcheries, regulation of hatcheries. You talk about why hatcheries. It's not about why hatcheries. You can write a little bit about why hatcheries are important, but that'll be like 2 lines, not more than that. You'll talk about why regulation of hatcheries is important. Okay. Similarly, what will be the impact of hydroelectricity, but what is the impact of regulation of hydroelectricity? What if there is a bad regulation? How does that impact hydroelectricity? What if there is good regulation? How can that impact hydroelectricity? So this is what you need to cover. So, sir, what is more relevant, framing questions or framing simple headings? You have to frame questions. Your questions are what you're going to answer. Sometimes a heading represents a question, which is okay. But otherwise, your heading, subheadings always will represent questions, and you have to frame the questions first. Okay. So this is what it is. So I think we have covered quite a bit about how to introduce a legal article. There are different ways we have seen how to how to write an introduction. Now what I want you to do is I want you to open an article that you have already written, that you are very happy with, and then we are going to analyze, right, about that. So I'm going to show it here. So can do you have any published article? You can share with me the link, then we will analyze it. Just share it on the in the chat. Okay, I'll wait for it. I want to look at, like, let's just look, see, the best way to learn is to see what we have already done and how we can further improve it. That's a great way to learn. Okay, so let's do that. I'm waiting for you. Please share some articles. No, don't share a file. Share a link of published article. See, all of you have to publish articles. Just writing is not good enough, right? Yeah, just share the link. What is the problem? How to share? Just share the link of your article that you have published. Copy it and paste it on the uh, group chat, right? Shilpa has shared something. Thank you, Shilpa. Okay, so this is the article. Can all of you see this? Yeah, I guess you can see it. So Shilpa has written this article. Okay, so let's see how she has done the introduction. Okay, the menace of tax evasion is an issue which has been plaguing economies all over India, all over, with India not being an exception. Okay, so she's talking about tax evasion, which is like, she's actually, you can see that she's trying to explain why. The topic is why is GAAR, General Anti-Avoidance Rules, and how does it impact M&A transactions. So General Anti-Avoidance Rules is basically something that helps to stop tax avoidance. Okay, so that people are forced to what do you say, like they're forced to um, pay the tax, right? So whatever mechanism people use to not pay tax, that is what is stopped through this GAAR, right, which is General Anti-Avoidance Rule. Now Shilpa is opening this article by talking about the menace of tax evasion, that how people are evading the tax, and it is plaguing various economies all over the world, and even India is not an exception. Countries all across, so she's explaining the importance. Countries all across the world are working overtime to achieve a balance between mitigating tax evasion and not interfering in day to day business of taxpayers. In this context, various anti avoidance rules have been brought up by various countries. However, with various evolving business transactions, the measures are found to be lacking. So, what happens is that you make one measure, and then tomorrow somebody comes and finds a way to bypass that and create some more creative something and gets away with it, right? So, for tackling the menace of tax evasion, nations like Australia, Netherlands, New Zealand, Canada, China, etc., have adopted a wider approach known as the General Anti Avoidance Rules. The introduction of GAAR is a watershed event in the evolution of India's tax policy and legislation. As on date, any discussion of the structuring of business transactions will be incomplete without discussing the implications of GAAR. Now, very interesting thing, what you have to notice is that uh, this is a very valid introduction. I like it overall. I can't say this is at all a bad introduction. It's a good introduction. Now, however, do you think this is a little boring to read to start with? Could what I mean? It is good already, but I'm trying to open up a discussion here. That if you had to write this introduction, how could you make it more interesting? Or how could you capture the attention? Because one thing is to introduce the subject is great, but how can you make it so interesting that after reading the introduction the reader decides to read the rest of the article and says, I must read this, I cannot not read this article. Okay, what can you write in the introduction to have that effect? Tell me. How to make this introduction irresistible? I'm waiting for your ideas. Colin, I have seen your link. I'll come to that next. But let's stay with this. How to make this introduction irresistible? You can read it. I'll open it again if you want. A mind breaking stat of tax avoidance will attract attention. Ravindran is saying that provide a mind breaking stats of how much tax is being avoided. That's a great idea, right? Uh, so one idea is that maybe there's some stats like uh, India is losing out. So one stats I'll tell you. Only 1.5% of individuals in India pay income tax, right? If there are 100 people living in India, out of that only 1.5% pay income tax, right? So what is the percent that doesn't pay? 98.5% people do not pay income tax. Now this is shocking to people who have never heard this. Like this is a big deal. Like what is going on in our country, how so few people are only paying income tax. Now this is a mind breaking stats, right? So you can similarly say, like, if you Google, I'm sure there will be some information regarding this. Okay, I've Googled extent of tax avoidance in India statistics. Okay, tax evasion a way of life, only 76 lakh Indians are paying tax in 2008. Okay. Tax evasion in India, a study of its impact on revenue or government. Tax evasion rampant amongst India's wealthy. Then again, somebody saying Indians are not really such big tax evaders. Somebody is explaining. Okay, how many Indians should be paying income tax but are not paying? So these are so all of these will lead to some interesting stats, right? So you can find, and you can open your article with something like this. And not only India, you can find USA is one country where there's a massive tax evasion going on. So you can write about that also. What is the extent of tax evasion happening in the US, right? So as you can see that there are options that you can find even here, right? There, so you can use the stats over here. Somewhere they would have answered. So it's saying that income above 2.5 lakhs, there's at least 9 crore people in India, but only out of that 75 lakh are paying 82 lakh. So it's very interesting information over here, right? So I will not do more research on this. I'm sure I think you got the point. Like, one way of is giving us stats. Okay. Ravi Kiran has also given a very good suggestion. Bring a fact in the first line. How much money is lost due to tax evasion? Okay, great. You just let's Google this. This is a great question. How much money is lost due to tax evasion in India? India loses, straight away, 41.7 billion or 2.34% of its GDP as a result of corporate tax avoidance. So there we saw individuals. This is corporate tax avoidance. According to a report published by United Nations University World Institute for Development Economics Research in 2017. So because of corporate tax avoidance, India loses 4.1 41.17 billion USD. How much is that in India? 41.17 billion, sorry, USD in INR. That is like some insane. Like what? How many crores is this? 28,099. I don't know how many. It's difficult to even count. This is 75,000, 1 lakh. This is 50 crores. So 2 lakh 89 2. So basically 2.9 lakh crores of money is lost to government of India because of corporate tax evasion every year. 2.9 lakh crores. Imagine if this article started with that. And where is that article? Yeah, here, right? Imagine the first line was 2.9 lakh crores or 46.17 billion US dollar is what is lost to Indian government because of corporate tax evasion. If this tax was recovered, then government can decide to not take individual income tax at all. Because that is around that 2.5 lakh crores is all the collection of individual income tax. So if government got this money, that money could have been forgiven. Like we don't want you are getting enough tax already. Okay. Or you can write what this money can be used for. Then people are already into an imaginative state that you can say that government could build these many IITs, these many schools, these many hospitals with this money, and then suddenly people are like, "Wow, this is so important!" Like they're buying into your argument, right? So this is how you can do. I like the fact that she has shown where in which countries GAAR is already there. So good job, Shilpa, that you have referred to Australia, Netherlands, New Zealand, and other nations which have the GAAR. Great. Okay, so this is one way. Any other suggestions on what else to write in the introduction? What would you not write in this introduction? Can anybody suggest? Read this introduction and tell me, if you are there, what would you remove from here? I won't write how GAR originated. Okay, sure, makes sense. I mean, can write how it originated, but not too much. I mean, it's not always so relevant or doesn't make it very interesting anyway. So let's take a look at another article written by one of you, Colin. Colin Fernandez has written this article, right? So the topic is all you need to know about setting up a micro enterprise under MSMED Act. How to set up a micro enterprise? Okay. So let's see the introduction. Uh, can you see this? Can you see this? I hope you can see this, and there's no problem. Can all of you see this? Anybody has any problem? Yeah. Okay. So Jyoti can see as well. So I hope everybody else can see as well. So let's read this. Just a moment. I'll resize this. So MSME sector is the backbone of the growth story of the Indian economy. It contributes around 6.11% of the manufacturing GDP and 24.63% of the services GDP. They provide employment to approx 120 million people and contribute around 45% of the overall exports source CII. Now, okay, good. So basically, what he is talking about is that he is talking about why MSME sector is important. So we are going to talk about setting up a micro enterprise under MSME Act. So he's talking about, although he's talking about all MSME and not just micro enterprise, he's talking about why these kind of businesses are important, and he has given us very relevant stats to appreciate the importance, right? So very good. Then he talks about the act, right? So probably now it has already gotten into, it's not, I mean, it is also in a way part of the introduction, right? So he is introducing the act. He's saying in order to promote, basically he's introducing his subject. In order to promote MSME sector, this act was enacted in 2006, and it talks about what the act addresses, right? And this is also a way of introducing the subject. Saloni Mathur is asking, is this the right way to give source in intro? No, it is not a standard way of giving a source. In blog, if you're writing a blog post, the best way is to give a hyperlink where you link it out to that source. That is the right way to do it. So, for example, if he's writing here source CII, he could have hyperlinked that to the CII page or whatever. If there is any website or any web page or any PDF, you could have linked to that. Otherwise, if you're writing an article for a journal or something, then you don't write like this. Then you footnote and all of that. But these days, hardly anybody reads journals. I don't recommend that you write for journals. Better to write blog posts. At least people will read it. Like this article, I don't know how many people have read till now. Okay, but some people certainly there'll be at least 400 500 people would have read this article. Okay, and that is very good. Like people are reading, he can share the link with somebody. Okay, so Saloni is saying that he could have used according to a report from CII. Sure, he could write that also, but if writing source :CII is not wrong, I wouldn't say it's inappropriate or anything. This is okay. I mean, it works. Maybe the source should not be capitalized, S should not be capitalized. Other than this, then this is fine. See, as long as it makes sense, we are not in a world where such formal things are very important. What is important is, does it make sense? Is it comprehensible? Like comprehensible? Like, can you understand? Does it convey the intention correctly? That is the most important thing, at least with blogs. Just a moment. So this is what it is, and he says, what is a micro enterprise? Now here I see the justification of explaining, because what is micro enterprise? Most people wouldn't know what is micro enterprise. So therefore he is explaining the definition of micro enterprise, which I find very justifiable here. And then it is pretty much, he's talking about how to how to set it up, like eligibility, everything. It's the meat of the discussion, no more introduction, right? So I think this is a very short and sweet introduction. But how could we improve this introduction? Any suggestions? There's always scope for improvement in anything. So how could we improve this introduction? How would you rate this introduction out of 10? Can I have some people tell me what do you think is out of 10? How much will you rate this introduction? If 10 is the full marks and 0 is the least, then how much will you give? I'm waiting. Please. How much will you give out of 10? Okay. Deep is giving 8 out of 10. Anybody else? How much will you give out of 10 to this introduction? Ravindran is saying he'll give 6 because it is too short. Shashwati is saying she'll give 9. Okay. Saloni is saying 6. Gunaranjan is saying 7. Somebody is painting on the screen. Please don't do this. Gunaranjan is saying 7. Rajesh Yadav 8. Snigdha is saying 7. Colin is asking how much will I give? I think I will give this 7, 7, 8 because I think it is an effective introduction. Only way to improve this introduction, I would say, is to like maybe give a touching story or something like that. Okay. So something that makes me humanly interested in this article, right? Something that I mean, you have already done. You have said how it gives jobs and everything, but if you could make it more connected, like something that I could relate to, a relatable story. Stories are always very powerful. So I would have, if I saw a story here, that will be great. Okay. And Shilpa is asking how much I will rate her introduction. Again, like maybe I think it's a bit chunky, lot of text. So I will rate it to be like 6, and very dense and thick, difficult to read. So if you can increase the readability, then I will rate it higher. So yeah, that's what it is. Great. Okay, but I think we are started to understand. Like. The importance of the introduction and how to make it interesting. I think the most fantastic way of introducing a topic is to tell a great story about it. Tell a story that captures imagination, captures attention. I mean, that's definitely the number one way. Anybody wants to share any other article? Anybody else, please? Share an article that you have written and published. Anybody? Jyoti has shared provisional patent filing, pros and cons. Very good topic. Why? What are the pros and cons of filing provisional patent? Let's see your introduction. So a patent is an official license to own, assign, or sell the invention for a certain period of time, which is subject to renewal. An inventor can. So you're talking about what is a patent, right? You don't have to define what is a patent when you are talking about. I mean, provisional patent. This is too much to explain. I mean, somebody who's going to read about provisional patents probably knows what is patent, and doesn't need an introduction to that. It's a overkill. An inventor can obtain the patent specifications by filing a patent application at the patent office. Sure. According to Section 9 of the Patent Act, there exist two types of patent specifications: provisional patent specification and complete patent. Sure, I mean, I wouldn't say this is a great introduction because, whether it is effective to the extent that you have explained that there are two kind of patents and you have gone to the section of the act. I would bring this a little later. I will try to start by explaining the importance of provisional patent with an example, or with a story. Okay, a story could be like this: that Jyoti has invented. Jyoti has been working on inventing a new medicine, and she has made a lot of progress. But the final thing is not done, and the testings are going on. But this much she has already discovered, and she was wondering whether to file, like, how can she get a patent at this stage. She thought that for her to get a patent she has to have a ready product, but then her friend told her that it is not necessary. So it could be a story like this, and or you can find some more interesting stories. I mean, something that will really catch somebody's attention of the right target market. You can also talk about why provisional patent is so important, right? Why is it so important? Can anybody tell me? Like, Jyoti, can you tell me why is provisional patent so important? You can, though you don't have to stay muted, you can open it up and talk if you like.
Yeah. Hello.
Yeah.
So I think it is important because it gives more time to the inventor, like 18 months to complete the patent, and he can register the uncompleted patent, and then the 1 year he will get.
Okay, but why actually do this? I mean, what is the important? I mean, why do this one at all? Why file the provisional patent? Like, I understand that they get 18 months, but why to file it in the first place? What will happen if they don't file it? Yeah, go ahead.
They can also opt for the complete patent, but this is a convenient option, I guess.
But why is it why? How does it help? Why does it benefit? So this is what, okay,
Because
this question.
the cost is less.
Okay,
Overall
but
cost is less.
I mean, why to do it in the first place? I mean, cost comes when I decide that I want to do it. But why would I want to do it? Why not just go for the complete patent specification at the end?
Actually, sometimes what happens is you you are you have the idea, but you are not sure about, like, it is not completed or it's not the finished product. So while you are completing the invention, you can register the patent so that other
You want
person
the
cannot.
priority, right? Other person cannot get it.
Yeah,
Absolutely
yeah.
right. Now you said the truth. Now imagine what a thrilling story you can write about. There are two people working on the same thing, and then one person files a provisional patent and gets it, and the other is waiting to complete the final product and misses out on getting the on the getting the patent, right? Because the person who files the provisional patent will get the priority. So so that's such a great story, right? About a person who doesn't know about this provisional patent and loses out. Right? Then that makes, now imagine you're writing this for inventors. Then every inventor will want to read this, or lawyers of those inventors who want to serve those, they'll all want to read it, right? So that is what you can achieve through this introduction. And I also suggest that you talk about a little about uh, what are you going to cover in the article, in the introduction itself, right? So you can talk about, I'm going to talk about, this is the takeaway you will get out of this article. What takeaway is the reader going to take away? What is the benefit you take away? That you should clarify in this part. This is my strong recommendation. Okay. And then you have explained what is a provisional patent, but that is pretty much the topic also, right? Is it useful to file a provisional patent? No, it is not the topic. So this is also introduction. What is provisional patent? Implication of provisional patent. So this is till here. It is more or less introduction. Okay, great. I think this is also a good introduction, more or less. Except I don't agree with you defining patent. Other than that, I think it is a pretty decent. Okay. Okay, so these are the things that you have seen of your articles. Why don't I show you an introduction I have written, and you guys can also rate me in return, right? Let's see what I have written recently. Okay, this is an article I wrote today. Okay, and I have written it in very less time, but still happy to get feedback, right? So this is an article. What is the best way to learn the law? 3 invaluable lessons from a decade of offering online courses. Because this is what I wrote. Okay. Now see my introduction. Okay. How to make something better. Modern business gurus suggest continuous testing and implementation of lessons is the key. We started online education back in 2009, and it has been almost a decade since then. It started with Clad Hacker community for Clad aspirants, followed by Bar Hacker, an online training program for AIB 2010, the first bar exam in India ever. We had numerous lessons, some learned the hard way through trial and errors, and the others are from various tests, surveys, interviews, and actively seeking out critical insights. Some are learned from pure observations of success and failure, both either of our own or even our competitors. I will share some of those lessons with you today. These lessons will definitely help you to make the best of online law courses you may ever undergo or have already taken. Okay. So what does this introduction do? It basically lays down what to expect from the article, right? And it tells you also about my credibility, that I am establishing my credibility in the article, saying that I have been doing this for 10 years, and I've been doing this back in 2009, and now it is 2019, right? And I have told you how I have learned those lessons. I have done it by trial and error. I have learned it from observing our own company and other people like the competitors, right? So I have established my credibility, and I have told you what to expect from the from the article. Okay, so this is how I have. It's a very simple introduction. Didn't even take me a minute to write. Very short, and then straight away jump into the topic. So it kind of sets you up very quickly, tells you what to be interested in, and then no frills, right? Very simple, as you can see. So what do you think? Do you think this kind of introductions are good, which straight takes you to the topic straight away? Because these days people don't have too much patience, right, to read a lot of things, lot of background information. They want to get to the point quickly. So how would you say? Would you write introductions like this? Yeah, any response? And how would you rate this introduction out of 10? Don't worry, you can say bad numbers also. Ekta is like 10 out of 10. Wow, thank you so much. I don't think it is a 10 out of 10 one, but still. 10 out of 10, everybody is saying 10 out of 10. Why 10 out of 10? Acha, Ravindran is saying that it made me read the whole thing. Now this is very important, right? If an introduction inspires you to read the rest of the article, then it is very important, because that is what you want, that people read your article. So if you can write something in the introduction that makes people read the whole article, then I would say yes, it could be 10 out of 10. But others, simple and readable, Deep is saying 8 out of 10. Okay. Anybody else? So notice something. My sentences are very short. One sentence, two sentence, then paragraph break. It makes it more readable. So try doing this, right? Multiple breaks, like One sentence, two sentence, paragraph break. One sentence, 2 second, two sentences, paragraph break. Why to do this? Because this really makes it easier for people to read. A lot of white space in your writing. It helps people to read. People don't get daunted by your paragraphs. Huge wall of text. People get scared. They don't read after that. Okay. Okay, Deep is saying most of the articles sent on email by Law Sequo are really very good. Thank you very much. Makes us read till the end. Okay, thank you, Deep. But what can you learn from this? That what can you incorporate in your writing? Personal touch, wonderful, yeah. Because that is what you want to establish with your reader. You want to establish a personal connect so that they want to know more about you, they get interested in you, they might hire you as a lawyer, they might want to give you a job, they might want you to write something for them. Many things are possible, and it happens when you write regularly. A lot of good things happen. I've been approached by top publications, lawyers, law firm partners who reach out. It's really amazing when you write. Shashwati Somya is saying case studies in introduction. Sure. Okay. You can put some case studies. You can talk about at least your experience, somebody else's experience. What else? Anything else? Anything else? Anybody? Okay. I think it is already 9:15. It's high time we wrap up. So before I go today, I want two things from you. I want what do you want me to cover in the next class? I want to know from you. I also want to know from you any feedback for today's class. So this is important business, right? I need feedback from you. What do you say out of 10? How good today's class was, or was it useful? Did you learn anything? Yeah, Ravi Karan, I understand. Ravi Karan is saying what he's taking away is what am I going to tell you? How am I credible enough to tell you this? This was very well articulated. Okay, great. So this you're going to take it. Okay. Nata Raja is saying that class was very useful. Thank you. Ravindran, good session. Thank you. Anybody else? Any other feedback? Anything I can improve on? Anything that you want me to cover in the next class? Deep introductions are very important. So today's lesson was so relevant. Without a good intro, nobody reads. Correct? Dino, learn to start an article. Great, Dino. Shashwati Soma, simple and small tips were great. Anuj Mishra, yes, today's class was good. At least get the idea how to start article. Yes, actually, if you have a good start, then things get easier. And do watch the previous classes also. You'll know how to do the rest as well. Gunaranjan, today's session was very good, useful session, learned new things, great. Ravindran, please cover references. References like how to do hyperlinks and footnotes. Saloni Mathur, very useful. Crisp and clear training, too good. Oh, thank you, Saloni. Abhishek, session let me understand reader's attention with great and simple introduction to writing. Great, thank you, Abhishek. Ekta is suggesting how we have to do research while writing an article. Okay, I'll cover research and reference in the next session. How to get ideas for writing articles. This I have covered before. How to get ideas for writing articles. Footnotes, yes. Okay. Ravindran, okay. Footnotes we will talk about. Ravi Karan, try to share agenda of the class beforehand so that we can prepare and interact effectively. You want us to share an agenda of what we are going to cover? Okay, why not? I can think about this. Let me see how to work this out. Yes, references and plagiarism. You know, talk about research, references, plagiarism. Okay, I'll cover all this. It can be covered in a single class, no problem. Anuj Mishra, I think I will take time to come on the same page like most people are. Yeah, no problem. You keep attending this, keep writing, and do watch the previous sessions. Saloni Mathur, how to bring the right thoughts appropriate to our topic. You watch the session on structuring an article. It is available. It is uploaded in the system. You can watch it, I think. If you can't watch, ask Priyanka, she'll help you out. That will help you to find out how to get the right thought for writing the article, how to structuring is the key to getting the right thought. And also we'll talk about research in the next session. Abhishek is saying please take a session on drafting on contracts. So you have teachers who teach you drafting of contracts. I am doing this to teach people writing, but yeah, sure, I mean, I don't mind. At some point I'll take a contract drafting class maybe. Anuj Mishra, thank you Anuj. Rajesh Yadav, good session. Have learned how to write introduction part in a short way that mention all thing of article. Great, thank you, Rajesh. All right, thank you everybody. Great session. I think I like the session. And Abhishek is saying I still depend on templates. You should depend on templates for drafting contracts. You're not going to reinvent the wheel by not using a template. Please use templates for contract drafting. Okay. All right. So thank you, everybody. See you in the next class. We will talk about research, references, and plagiarism. And see you soon. All right. So Abhishek, there is no plagiarism for contracts. You can plagiarize as much as you want in contracts. No problem. All right. Thank you, everybody. Good night. See you. See you in the next session. Please watch the previous sessions also. And please use this quickly. All right. Don't forget to write something in the next couple of days. Otherwise, you will lose what you learned. Good insights you forget unless you practice. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Good night and take care.